Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of rawradianthealth.com, and I'm Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So today's Thursday, and today I'm going to show you guys how to sprout buckwheat groats. I received a lot of requests on showing you guys how to do it, and tomorrow I'm actually going to show you a recipe using the sprouted buckwheat groats. So today we're just going to prepare you for it, and then tomorrow we're going to make something super yummy. So let's get started. So here we've got the buckwheat groats. I just want you to see them. And we're going to soak them. So these are hulled buckwheat and they're raw. They're not roasted. Make sure of that. And so you're just going to put them in a bowl. And you're just going to put some filtered or spring water in the bowl. And you're going to cover it with water. And you're just going to let it soak for good hour. So you would rinse the buckwheat groats like really well, because you'll notice that when you're rinsing it, like it gets kind of thick and starchy, the water, and you want to just rinse all that starch off. I drained it in a fine mesh colander, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that after washing it really well, you have to really rinse the buckwheat groats really well. And then what you want to do is you kind of want to line it around the fine mesh colander, just so that there's some air to be able to run through it. You know, that it's not just sort of like sitting in a mound where whatever's in the center kind of gets moldy and gross. So if it's lined around the colander, then the water can actually like come through the sides, okay? And so you're going to leave this out, and every, I would say 4 hours, so twice a day, you just rinse it again really well with water, and then again line it around. And you would do this for about, I'd say, a day or two. So here's our buckwheat. This is after it's been just left to sprout for about a day and a half. So every 4 hours I was rinsing it. And now you can see like the little tails that are growing out of the buckwheat groats. So once the buckwheat is sprouted and ready, you can either eat it right away, or you can store it in your refrigerator, or you can even dehydrate it. If you dehydrate it, then they can last for a few months, as long as they're in like an airtight jar and no moisture or humidity is getting in there. There's different ways of dehydrating the buckwheat as well. If you have a dehydrator, then use that. But I also found too that you can dehydrate buckwheat with just by air drying it. You can either lay it out on a screen so that the moisture or the water sort of drips out of it, or what I've done is I would put, if I'm just sprouting a small quantity, I would put it in like a nut milk bag, and I would hang it up over my kitchen sink, which I'll show you now. These are the buckwheat groats that are sprouted, and they're in a nut milk bag hanging like over my sink, and they're just left there to sort of, there's air circulating so that they can actually just dry out on their own. So with the nut milk bag over the kitchen sink, you just make sure that there's some air circulation going there, and within like a day they would be dried out, which is pretty great. It's good little trick to know. I'd say a day or two, depending on like the amount of heat, humidity, stuff like that the environment is. And if you were to be storing the buckwheat, sprouted buckwheat, in a jar in the refrigerator, then I would suggest using the sprouted buckwheat within a day or two. I wouldn't be storing it more than 3 days, just because it's wet, and then you put it in the refrigerator, and after a few days it, you know, there's just a lot of starches in it that it can get moldy. So it would be good to store in a jar for like 1 or 2 days, that's fine, but after that you wouldn't want to eat it. So that's something to think about when you're preparing freshly sprouted buckwheat. If you're going to eat it immediately, you want to eat it immediately. If you're going to prepare it, you're going to want to eat it immediately or within 1 or 2 days, or else dehydrate it, and then you can always rehydrate it at another date. All right, so check in tomorrow for the recipe using the buckwheat. It's a super yummy one. And the beautiful thing about buckwheat groats is that, you know, it's starchy, so for a lot of people that crave carbohydrates and breads and things like that, this is a great alternative because it's really gentle on the digestive system. There's no gluten or anything in it, and at the same time it's got also a lot of minerals and vitamins in it, but it's also really like easy on the digestive system, and it can fulfill a lot of those kind of bready cravings people have. All right, so come back tomorrow for the recipe. Have a fabulous day, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.